Hi, my name's Max. I'm a photographer. Today I'm going to take you along as we go to make tintypes out in the field. I'm going to be bringing along my 5x7 camera, and we're going to go make some tintypes. Let's go. Today we're going to Roggen, Colorado, a tiny town off I-76 about an hour outside of Denver on the Eastern Plains. I've taken pictures here before, but I wasn't happy with how they came out. I had light leaks on the film, color issues with the scans, and honestly, I don't think any of the compositions were very good. Which is a bummer because it's a really interesting subject and I know there's a good composition here somewhere. Part of the problem was the medium. I was shooting 6x12 color film on that trip, and I don't think that was the right tool. The more I chewed on it, the more that wet plate felt like the right process. So I'm coming back with the whole mobile darkroom to shoot some tintypes. I bet you're wondering why my voice isn't synced up with my mouth. That's because the microphone I was using didn't work the whole time I was there. So much so that I have no idea what I'm even saying here. My best guess is something along the lines of, "Hey, we made it here. Time to set up the darkroom and let's take some pictures." Hey, look at that. It's all set up. Let's go take some pictures.
The modern tintype process starts with a sheet of aluminum coated in black enamel. Mine comes with a protective film that I peel off before I begin. The first step is called flowing the plate. This means pouring collodion onto the surface and rocking it into all four corners. Collodion is a syrupy solution containing metallic salts. Once the plate is coated, I submerge it in a tank of silver nitrate. The salts in the collodion react with the silver nitrate to form light-sensitive silver crystals, suspended in the collodion layer. When those crystals are exposed to light, they'll form the image. I flow the collodion, guide it to every corner, then pour the excess back into the bottle. I catch the last drips on a paper towel and let it set. Once it's tacky but not fully dry, I bring it into the dark box, submerge it in the silver nitrate tank for 3 minutes. After this, I load it into the plate holder, and it's ready to shoot just like a regular piece of film. Wet plate is much less sensitive to light than modern film. You'll need significantly more light. With the slight cloud cover today, I'm estimating about 6 seconds at f11. I'm far enough away from the building that I don't need to stop all the way down, but I have enough foreground that I want to squeeze as much depth of field as I can. After the exposure, the plate goes back into the dark box for development. The undeveloped plate has a milky appearance. Those are the unexposed silver crystals. When I pour the developer on, the areas that were hit by light convert from silver salts to metallic silver, and the image begins to emerge. It happens fast. It's hard to see through the glare, but you can see the image begin to appear on the plate. I quickly submerge the plate in water to stop development, and now, for the first time, it can come into the light. The final step is fixing. The fixer dissolves all of the unexposed silver salts on the plate. Watch when I tip it in, you can actually see the silver clear away and the image shifts from a murky negative into a positive. This is my favorite part of the process, and I'll never get tired of watching it happen. All that's left to do is wash the plate and let it dry.
Overall, I'm pretty happy with how this came out. While there are plenty of technical issues with the plate, like the uneven development and the hesitation marks across the image, I did get the exposure pretty spot on, and I think the composition works. Thinking about it more, I think the uneven development works for the image. The overdevelopment of the middle and the underdevelopment of the edges and the bottom create a bit of a vignette, focusing the viewer's attention to the center of the image. I love the amount of emptiness in the photo, the evidence that people have been there and used to be there, but are nowhere to be found. The empty office chair really helps to emphasize the lack of life here. The chair is an object that many of us interact with for hours every day, and to see one left here alone adds to the feeling of the image. Another element that adds to that feeling is all of the tires that are strewn about. To see tires abandoned with no cars in sight feels similar to the chair without a human. The layer of tires and tire tracks in the dirt further adds to the emptiness of the image. I tried a second composition off camera to see what it would look like from a more straight-on perspective. I like how the automotive garbage is more visible in the frame, and I like how the chair is still isolated, but I don't love how two-dimensional the building becomes. With the overdevelopment of the center of the image, the roofline almost completely melts into the sky. Then again, all of that makes the image feel pretty apocalyptic, as if we're looking at the sun-bleached remnants of a nuclear disaster, with our waste being the only evidence of human existence. Or it's not that deep. Let me know what you think. All of that got me thinking about the human presence in the image, and I wanted to see what a human figure would add to the scene. So I cranked down the aperture to get a long enough exposure time to run into the scene. In my first attempt, I got the exposure wildly incorrect, as you can see here. But the second was good. I went with a relatively shorter exposure time, about 18 seconds, which makes my figure pretty transparent and ghostly. In the moment, I was thinking, I should put myself near the chair to emphasize the chair representing people. But looking at it now, I don't like where I am in the image. I think it's really crowded with me, the chair, the pillar, and the graffiti. If I were to do this again, I would stand here. I think the human presence is interesting here, but I still don't know how I feel about the ghostly me in the image. I think it's too close to, ooh, spooky ghost at the abandoned haunted gas station, ooh. And all of the technical issues add to that feeling for me too. Bit of a hat on a hat, you know? I wanted to take one more before I left, and I wanted to put the chair front and center. I switched the camera to be shooting vertical, both to convey more of a portrait feeling and to fit everything I wanted into the image. I think it's the best one of the day. It's by far the best one technically. The exposure and development were spot on, great contrast, and not too many artifacts or weird chemical things happening. I also think it's balanced really well, like two L-shaped Tetris blocks perfectly sliding together, one man-made and one natural. Something about it also feels less like I'm saying, look how man has destroyed and abandoned the land, and more like, look how despite the efforts of man, nature is slowly reclaiming what we took. Or again, maybe I'm being too deep, and it's just an office chair in front of an abandoned gas station. I've been assuming this building used to be a gas station, or a service station of some kind. When those buildings close, there are significant environmental concerns with the property. Unfortunately, in a lot of cases, abandoning the property is the most financially responsible option. And because of that, buildings like this often just sit here, slowly decaying and changing over time. So I like the interpretation of nature is reclaiming what we took. Wet plate is an old, archaic, slightly unpredictable process that's largely been abandoned for faster, more repeatable ways of making images. Kind of like how this building was abandoned for a more modern gas station or a bigger town down the road. They've both been left behind by progress. But wet plate images have a certain magic that can breathe life into a subject devoid of it. And I think it's done that for these scenes today. Overall, I think this was a pretty successful trip. A few good images on a day trip is pretty good, especially using this long, involved process. I hope you had a good time. I know I did. I hope you'll come along with me on the next one. But until then, happy trails.